Today we've got a nice list of designer fragrances that I would choose over some of my most expensive, overpriced niche fragrances. This is going to prove that you don't need to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars per bottle to smell good and to have a unique product that just works really well. Because I think across the board here, everything in this video just embodies what you would want from a high quality fragrance, right? And sometimes, you know, we're used to associating high quality with a super high price tag. And while you can spend a lot of money on niche fragrances and they do have great quality, oftentimes really good performance and very unique, that's not always the case. You don't always have to spend that much. Now, this video isn't full of cheapies by any means, but they're all significantly more affordable than your average niche fragrance, which could range anywhere from $200, $300, $400 for 50 ml, or, you know, $200, $300, $400 for 100 ml, right? Depending on the price per milliliter and what brand you're going for. Niche is pricey. These are a lot more reasonable. Now, I'm going to provide links to each and every one of these down below. So, you know, not only are these going to be more affordable as far as retail price, but if you're shopping on discounters, you can get that price down even further, which is what I always recommend. Now, the first one is Hugo Boss Confident Oud, and this is from The Collection. Okay, so I guess this is kind of maybe their more premium line of things, although they're not very expensive at all. But yeah, Hugo Boss Confident Oud. This one is relatively new, so it's not going to be something that you've heard of all over the place. And because it's not in their mainstream designer line, I don't think this one will ever get super popular. I happened to be browsing discounters one day when I saw this one. That's where I found out about it first. And I don't know what possessed me to go ahead and get it, but I had a good feeling about it. So I said, you know what, I'm placing an order anyway. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it in my cart and we'll see if it's good. So I've had it for a little while now. This is so much better than I thought it was going to be. You know, before I pulled the trigger on it, I did a little bit of research. I was trying to find a note breakdown. There isn't much of one. They have two notes listed off, Oud and Brand. That's it. Really bizarre, you know, and so it didn't tell me a whole lot. I just thought it was going to be straight up Oud and that was it. That's not the case at all. You know, when you spray this one, the Oud is somewhat there, surprisingly not as much as you might expect. You actually get a really strong whiskey / bourbon accord off the top. So it's very boozy, very sweet. I'm getting loads of patchouli, a lot of cedarwood, a lot of tonka bean as well, with that boozy touch and with some of that oud. It's woody, it's sexy, it's a little bit smoky. And you know what? It actually reminds me just a little bit of Hugo Boss Bottled Elixir somewhat, which is a fantastic scent on its own. But this one does take it to the next level. You know, because Boss Bottled Elixir, while it is very unique, it's still within their designer line. And so they're going to keep that one relatively approachable. And this one is kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit more. I still think it's going to be something that a lot of people would be able to pull off easily and enjoy. But it is going to be a step further in the more unique direction. I've seen online where this one is compared to Nasomato Baronda, which is a really, really strong whiskey scent. And I do see a little bit of that comparison, especially off the opening. You just get a really strong splash of whiskey and kind of this muskmallow / ambrette / kind of sweet chocolatey smell, which carries over between the two of those. And so I think there is some merit to that comparison, although I would not say that this is a clone of that. And there are plenty of differences as well, mostly being that Nasomato is pretty hard to pull off. And I've had to scrub that one off before because of how realistic it smells as far as whiskey, right? So that one's kind of in a league of its own. This one's a lot more wearable, a lot more designer friendly, but, you know, still doesn't come with the price tag of the Nasomato or any other niche fragrances out there. It is a really good, underrated release that I think you should pick up and check out for the upcoming fall and winter. Now, this next one is not going to be really quite as unique. It's actually kind of a take on a couple really popular designer scents, although essentially it undercuts both of them in price somewhat, and I'll explain that a little bit more in a minute. From Missoni, it is Wave. So, okay, you know, Chanel Allure Homme Sport meets Versace Pour Homme. That's kind of what this does. Has the bright citrusy aspect of the Versace and a bit more of that smooth creaminess from the Chanel. The Chanel is $100 plus. The Versace is around the same price as this, in the $40 range. So this one doesn't quite undercut the Versace. However, you cannot buy the Chanel and the Versace and layer them for the same price as this. It's physically impossible. You're going to be at $140 plus, right, to get both of those. Even talking discounter rates, because the Chanel is not really at discounters. This is $40, right? So if you want the best of both worlds, this is going to be the most affordable way to get that. Now, if you already have the Chanel and the Versace, this one might not be as appealing to you. You can go ahead and layer those and achieve a pretty similar result. But, you know, if you don't have them, or maybe you just have one of those, this is still a worthwhile purchase in my opinion, especially at this price point that it comes in at. It's a really, really versatile, people-pleasing spring and summer scent, just with a really, really appealing dry down especially. I mean, the opening, don't get me wrong, it smells great. Nice and bright with some of that citrusy, kind of musky undertone. Beautiful smell, really gets your attention, but the dry down when it gets a little bit more smooth and creamy and ever so slightly sweet, that's just where this one really shines. It is a fantastic scent. You know, I've said it before, if this was $80 or something that you had to shell out for it, it wouldn't be nearly as good. But the fact that you can get this one for borderline cheapy price and you know, almost considered cheapy price in today's day and age with the current price of discounters or with the current price of designer fragrances, this is a worthwhile pickup that you should definitely consider. So we're going to move over to Dior with Fahrenheit Les Parfums. So they've gone through and discontinued some of their best Fahrenheit fragrances. No surprise, because most designer brands kind of do this. They release something pretty unique that a lot of people love in the community, but it probably doesn't do that well outside of the fragrance community. And so when sales numbers are down, it makes more sense for them to just discontinue it. I understand from that point of view, but it's frustrating for us. And I'm talking about Fahrenheit 32, Fahrenheit Absolute especially, which is amazing, Fahrenheit Cologne, Fahrenheit Aqua. All of those are amazing, and I might even be missing one or two. Fahrenheit Parfum is still kind of around. I don't know the status of production on this one, but I do know that it is usually in stock on discounters, and if it's sold out, oftentimes it does pop up again pretty quickly, especially here lately, but I don't know what the future holds for it. And what this one does is it still maintains that fresh violet leaf Fahrenheit smell that is a classic, kind of that gasoline accord that people talk about. You still get that, but then you get a vanilla, rum, leather undertone to sweeten it up, make it a bit more appropriate for an evening out, make it more fall and winter appealing. And that's just what I love about it. I really don't have a lot of desire to wear the original Fahrenheit. It just isn't something that usually fits into my rotation. But this is one that I heavily crave as soon as it starts getting cold outside. I probably prefer it more for winter time, but as soon as fall type weather hits, like we've had a couple days of like almost fall feeling weather in August, which is weird. This is kind of one that I start thinking about a little bit. You know, it's usually just a touch over $100 on discounters. Again, not a cheapie by any means, but still isn't touching niche pricing. It's got great quality, great performance, and a true parfum to back up that price point. I think it is worth it. Next up, we have Bentley for Men Absolute. So I guess there are a couple cheapies in here. We had that Missoni, and now we have this one. This one's even more affordable than Missoni Wave. I think we're looking at usually around $30 to $35, and you can kind of get these as a tester. I believe the testers come with a cap as well, although don't know off the top of my head. But regardless of if that's important to you or not, testers, you could save a few bucks, and you know, even full presentation is still more than reasonable. Now this one smells quite a bit like an absolute classic from Gucci. That would be Gucci Pour Homme 1, kind of in that brown, ambery color. You know, I think it was clear glass, but ambery liquid color. You know, just like Gucci Pour Homme 2 has that clear glass and a bluish color. Both of those are amazing. Gucci Pour Homme 2, a fantastic tea scent, but also both of them are discontinued, kind of like Gucci Envy and Gucci Rush and just all of those incredible fragrances that are no longer. And so Gucci Pour Homme 1, or the original, it's a very strong cedarwood focused scent. And that's what this one is. Cedarwood, papyrus, pink pepper, woody, spicy. That's essentially it. A bit smoky as well. But this is going to be a lot more traditional smelling. It's not sweet like a lot of the newer fragrances are. It's not fresh and blue or aquatic or anything. I mean, this is a little bit more old school, but in the best way possible. And it doesn't smell as old manish as Bentley for Men Intense, which is a very common piece of criticism for that one. Kind of is kind of churchy smelling, and I can see that. This isn't so much, but keep in mind, dry, woody, smoky, and a bit earthy. And I've said it before, but that opening, I don't know what it is about it, almost has a bit of a rum, kind of sweet, boozy touch. But then that does dissipate and you really start getting into the woods and the spices and some of the smokes. You know, aside from it smelling a lot like Gucci Pour Homme 1, it is very unique. There aren't going to be too many guys out there smelling like this at all. You know, whereas if you wear a blue fragrance or an aquatic, you know, it's going to be more of a familiar smell and a familiar DNA. Soapy, clean, fresh, or citrusy or whatever. You're just not going to run into stuff like this out and about. So it's really a good way to stand out for a low price, amazing quality, amazing performance. Another one that's going to be fantastic for fall. Fall is my preferred time for this one. I can definitely wear it in wintertime, and I do. But when you have some of the more milder temperature where it's not cold necessarily, but it's not hot either, I just really like this one for that time. Just something cozy and comforting about it. I don't know. And this one next is also really, really cozy and warming and inviting, and it just, I don't know, it makes you feel really good. Azzaro Pour Homme Intense has cinnamon and brandy with some of that original kind of aromatic lavender Azzaro Pour Homme DNA. So for those who are unaware, the original Azzaro Pour Homme is an aromatic fougere style, kind of a barbershop-y lavender aromatic scent, right? And so that kind of gives it a bit more of an older school smell. Also, with a little bit of a modern touch, I think it's pretty easy to pull off, but still might not be for everybody. This is a fantastic improvement, a really well done release. And I will just say that I think they outdid themselves here, you know, because they could have gone a little bit more lazy with this one and approached it in a different way. But the fact that they added in those warm spices and that kind of brandy accord, oh, it just makes it absolutely delicious. This stuff is fantastic. It's unfortunately discontinued officially, but you can get it right now. Now, it's 100 ml testers with no cap. So if you buy it, it's going to look like this. That kind of turns some people off. But keep in mind, Azzaro Pour Homme caps will fit on. Okay, so if you had a bottle of Azzaro Pour Homme laying around, or you just bought a cheapy one to complete the look, that's an option for you. I wouldn't let the cap thing deter you too much. This DNA is worth getting in your collection. It is super addicting and mouth-watering, especially for fall. Into wintertime too, but especially in the season of autumn when it just looks beautiful outside. It's kind of amber colors and leaves and just kind of windy, and you can hear the leaves kind of blowing through and just the feeling of autumn. This one is really an embodiment of that. It's a great pickup. And like I said, under 50 bucks right now. It smells like it could be a lot more expensive than it is. Next up, we have L'Homme Ideal Parfum by Guerlain. So this is a new release as of this year. I'm kind of slipping in here. Not that I haven't been opposed to doing that, because I've already featured this quite a bit in lists and stuff this year. But I'm telling you, this is something that I've been waiting for. You know, I say this about everything, so I'm not someone who is predicting things like this, or they're not taking my word for it or taking my ideas, right? Because I say this about everything. I could use a boozy version of this or that, or they should make a boozy version of this fragrance, right? I think I've said that about everything except for like Acqua di Gio, with Spice Bomb, with Givenchy Gentleman, all of those, right? And at some point they end up doing it. It's not because of me. It's probably just because of it's a good idea and they figured it out. But I've always said that. I love when they can add a little bit of that twist into an existing DNA. It just works well, because oftentimes It just gives it an extra layer of a mature smell and an extra layer of depth and richness and complexity. Not every brand needs it, but some could really benefit from that. And in this instance, I don't think that it was needed because L'Homme Ideal, Eau de Parfum, and Extreme are really, really full-bodied to begin with. But the fact that they're adding in a little bit of an alcohol touch here, it just really blends well with this DNA, that almond and kind of slightly gourmand aspect that you're getting out of this one. Oh man, it just comes through and works together really well. I mean, gosh, just smelling that up in the air, it is a beautiful scent. You know, this is the type of thing that smells good when you spray it on your skin and go directly to it. But if you're able to catch a whiff of this one in the air, it smells a lot better. I mean, really, it kind of comes to life when you're catching the scent trail of it. You know, you're looking right at around $100 for this one. It's new, but it's already hit discounters, maybe slightly over 100, but still not niche price. Technically is a niche fragrance, Guerlain, but again, we're talking, you know, overpriced niche and expensive niche, and this is not any of that. It's designer price, but really kind of more of a niche profile, just given how unique it is, but still wearable at the same time. So they're doing a good job here. And we're going to finish this video with a Brioni scent. Now, they've been on a roll as well. Started off with the Eau de Parfum just a couple of years ago, or at least the new style. Like, they've had fragrances before for men, but here recently they've kind of relaunched, it seems. And so now we're up to, I believe this is the fourth. Brioni Eau de Parfum Intense, Eclat, and this one, of course, Essentiel, which is currently the newest. And I think this was last year's release. It's got bergamot, patchouli, tomato, frankincense, and sandalwood. Quite a bit going on. Tomato, that sounds interesting. It's more of like a tomato leaf. That was used in something like a Valentino Uomo Aqua, a tomato leaf, which is kind of a leafy green type of accord going on here. And green definitely fits in because it's a green smelling scent. And they're rolling with that because of the green bottle, which looks really nice. The presentation on these are incredible. I have to give it to them. It's a premium look for sure. There we go. Now we can actually get a good look at it. But yeah, looks really nice. Magnetic cap on these. Love the texture on the front there. Really nice bottles. It's an Eau de Parfum concentration. It is by far the most unique within the Brioni line. I mean, there's nothing really like this one within the line, but also out there on the market in general. A really, really interesting smell. Oh man, that's really nice. That opening especially, it's a bergamot green kind of woody mixture going on. That's really nice. It's gonna throw people off, and it's not what's being normalized, but that's why I like it. And I mean, this is already 70 bucks or so for a standard 100 ml on discounters, and that's likely to maybe move around a little bit more as time goes on, hopefully going down a little bit more, but still, at that price point, it is more than worth a purchase and still far, far away from what a lot of niche is going for. I think that they could probably bottle this smell into a niche fragrance and charge a niche price, and I think it would sell. Like, it's that unique. Hats off to Brioni. They killed it with this. If you are of the crowd who says, we want something unique from a designer brand, this is it, and you got to try it. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for me. Some really good designer fragrances that I would choose over some of my expensive niche, which I'll be the first to admit, a lot of that stuff is way overpriced. I've got a lot of it. I've bought 99% of it. I have had the opportunity to get a couple free niche, bottles here and there, but few and far between. That only happened after I bought a whole bunch of it myself. But yeah, I mean, these, for the money, are going to take you very far. So if you're on a budget, don't feel like you have to go out there and put yourself into a ton of debt or to spend an uncomfortable amount of money on niche just to fit in because it's high quality and designers suck. These are amazing. Links will be down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.